very glad that in the previous session, a lady at the back, she asked a question about insurance. So that really made me very happy that audience is really interested in knowing about insurance. And insurance is a very positive thing. It gives you financial protection. But if you think about it, this word insurance, it has some negative connotation to it. That when you file a claim, will you really get your money, will you get your insurance claim back or not? Or you'll have to maybe fight with the company, insurance company. So some negativity there. And I raise this perception question with insurance company CEOs often. But what I hear is, I would like to tell Mahavir also, that they tell me that we clear X amount, X crore of claims every year. You don't talk about that. Media doesn't talk about that. But here and there, when we don't clear a claim, then it becomes a news. So this perception challenge, they say that there is no perception challenge as such. What would you say to it?
Right. So this exact conversation I've had this morning with an insurer, where I was reaching out to them for a problem which few advisors who are in a community are facing. And the exact answer that you gave was given to me that, we're settling 900 crores of claims a month, right? And we're not asked about that, or we're not celebrated on that. We're only, only things which we don't do, or problems that we basically are basically talked about in the industry. My take on this is that, paying claims is a job of the insurance industry, and you can't be celebrated for doing your job, right? So I feel, yes, it does contribute to a huge amount of, customers and their problems getting solved. But at the same time, when an insurer talks about this and says that, we have been in this space and we've been paying so many claims and nobody talks about it, it's largely about communication, right? And when it comes to communication, the good part of the communication will have to come from the insurer themselves, right? Meaning you have to manage your own reputation, which I don't see happening a lot. We only hear such kind of stories. Largely the deep-rooted reason for this is basically insurance industry is a very hardcore sales-driven industry, right? And when you're seeing quarter-on-quarter results and you're seeing great amount of growth that is happening, like if you see the amount of complaints that happen on, let's say, a product like health insurance, which I look at very closely, you look at it from that perspective that we are seeing a lot of growth in the space, right? And the growth is being achieved and backed by basically distributors that basically help you achieve that growth. On the other hand, there is this problem of claims, which is a very small percentage of the total policies that get sold, right? So for a sales-driven organization where growth is a constant and they're seeing significant growth coming on month, year on year, the issue related to customer service issues and complaints basically get diluted in the overall scheme of things. So it's definitely true. I have another aspect to it, if you can give me one more minute of time, is that it's not that claims don't get paid, right? And what I have seen, and obviously I come from this space, so a lot of people will feel that, come on, you are from this industry, so you will definitely say this. But I am not from the industry now. I am looking at it from the outside, and I can tell you, hand over heart, is that I have not seen even one claim which was supposed to be paid, not paid, right? I've seen claims getting paid. The claims that don't get paid, a large number of them are because people, honestly, are disinterested about insurance. Half of the times, insurance is bought for wrong reasons. It is either for taxation purposes. It is either because you want to help some friend of yours or family member to achieve targets, right? Which causes the issue. And then you are in a hurry to just fill a form and just get the policy. You're not worried about what you're buying, right? As a country, and people hear out, I just understood from Aparajita that a lot of people are young. You need to study about risk management. You need to understand why insurance is important for you, and then go deeper into this complex product and then buy, right? If that happens, a lot of the issues that you see over social media or over news will not happen with you. And I can say this with personal experience of my own claims. I have seen 5 claims in my family in the last 2 years. And I see so many claims of customers. So I can tell you there is a positive side to insurance also, which doesn't get spoken about. And it can only be achieved if we keep our eyes and ears open.
Right. And as you mentioned that insurance is a sales-driven profession.
Right.
And here in this business, insurance companies, they have to rely on third-party agents.
Right.
Then you have bank RMs and a lot of people. So they sell insurance, they represent insurance companies. And if something goes wrong, and they are the face of the insurance company, and sometimes they have their targets to meet. And what if they missell a product? In that case, the customer is not aware of it, and if they file a claim, and obviously for legal reasons, it could be that the insurance company is not supposed to clear the claim. But reason is something else, the
Right.
representative. So what can people do in those situations?
Right. So if you see the way insurance has been sold, and even a large organization like LIC, right, today depends upon neighborhood agents to sell insurance because it's a very complex product, and it cannot. The overall traditional view is that it cannot be bought; it has to be sold, right? So that will happen, right? When it comes to mis-selling, and when I analyze a mis-selling that happens, and if I can give an example quickly of a family which was a cancer survivor, and they were like 65, 70 years old, and they had a policy which they wanted to port to another insurer. And the agent who was basically involved in this porting process encouraged not informing some information and then buying the policy, right? The buyer was aware that this is a very important information that needs to be provided, but they did not provide and depended on this. So we do, as consumers, see, I'm not here to represent the industry. I don't represent the industry because I am outside it. But as consumers, what we can do is only what we can do. And there are 2 things that need to be done. One is basically be aware. And second is that please be aware of 2 things. Be aware of the fact that the guy who's selling you something has a huge vested interest in basically the policy getting issued and not the claim getting paid. And hence, at the time of claim, you're going to be on your own. And the second is the claim not going to get paid is something that you are going to suffer from. So always look at claims when you're looking at a policy and don't look at basically whom you're buying from, right? A mis-selling that happens from a banker or let's say someone who's selling the policy, let's say an agent, is something which is happening in the space, and insurer is responsible for it from a regulatory perspective also. But at the end of the day, it's you and I who are going to suffer. So what I would like to let you take home is it's going to be completely your responsibility, and you have to, even if it's a most boring product in the entire space of financial services, you will have to learn, you will have to understand, and you'll have to do homework before you buy it.
Yeah, and to get a better context to our discussion, if from audience anyone would like to share their mis-selling story, something related to insurance that you have gone through while buying the policy, issues in understanding the product, anything that you would like to share. Yeah, the person there.
Hello. Yeah, my name is Nayan Shah. Not personal story from my side, but being in the industry, so I can tell a lot of others. And everyone living in Mumbai and having a lot of interaction with banks. I think so the biggest example of mis-selling is, and which a lot of people will agree, that today go to any bank, be it a public sector or a private sector, it's most difficult to get a locker without buying an insurance policy.
Yeah, somebody
The
was telling
biggest
me
example of mis-selling that I can quote here. So basically, insurance is being sold just to as a offshoot of providing some service which the bank is ought to provide, but instead of providing it as a service, they are providing it along with a bundled product.
Right, even Nirmala Sitharaman mentioned about it just last week. So anyone else or yes?
गया इसके पास Hello.
Yes, go ahead. Okay.
Good afternoon, good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, ma'am. So, sir, insurance fraud is the major issue for the industry. If you have read today's Times of India, there was a case that a Kolhapur businessman killed his worker to claim fake death insurance of 35 CR. So, as a insurance company, what are the technologies you use to, you know, detect such types of frauds happening in the insurance industry? Because as you have mentioned that insurance are mainly public for wrong purposes. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so see, it's a mix of good old human investigation and technology, right? A lot of tools are being used now to find out patterns and to figure out whether there is a claim that is fraudulent. This is also one of the reasons why there is so much friction in health insurance specifically, and even in life insurance, where the ratio of premium that you pay and the claim is significant, right? And that's where insurers attract a lot of frauds, right? And hence insurers sometimes are able to find them and sometimes they are not able to find them. What I was trying to, the answer to your question, and I want to just add some few things that I want to say to all of you here. The answer to your question is basically pure human investigation, where there are professional investigators who look at patterns and then figure out if there is an issue with a claim. And there is a huge amount of experience now because data is available for almost like 20-25 years now. And the other is obviously using technology tools, including AI, that a lot of companies now use to find out patterns and figure it out. India being a very peculiar country, insurers do attract huge amount of frauds. So when I talk to insurers, what I see is that they, on their side, see a lot of frauds coming to them. And because they get a lot of frauds, there is a lot of friction that they have created in the claims process before they pay them, right? A longer term solution for this could have been that there is a clear understanding of profiles of customers, which are bucketed into different categories. And then some people are given benefit of doubt of probably having a 20-year policy over someone who's bought a policy a year ago, like this example. Those kind of solutions need to be built. But today, as we speak, largely the friction is because, a lot of friction is because of the example that you gave, which is frauds.
Yeah, and here for our audience, if you can sum up that if somebody is buying a health plan or a life plan, then what are some things to keep in mind, the questions that they can ask to third-party agents or for themselves at least, that they are buying a right policy and nothing wrong is happening there?
Right. Yeah, so for a health insurance, it's very important that you understand the coverage that you're buying, right? A lot of people feel that, let's say, the coverage that you need is what is a average hospital bill that you could basically incur today. The most important thing about health insurance is that you should buy it or pre-book it for your old age, right? So if you're, let's say, 30-year-old today, you should not buy it for your age 30, but you should buy it for your age 50 or 55, 60. By this, I mean is that understand the healthcare inflation and then factor that and then buy a insurance, and don't just buy, let's say, a very small cover like a 5 lakh cover, right? Because even if there is a larger problem that occurs, it will get exhausted probably in a one claim, let's say 10 years from now. The other two things that are important is that please don't be lazy about insurance and just find the next door agent, whoever you know, and depend on that person and buy. You'll have to do two things. One is that you have to spend time to understand the product well, understand what are the limitations, the broad contours of the product. And second is spend time to find the right expert in the market. There are good experts in the market who have and want to keep a skin in the game at the time of claims to provide you good services, good experience. Find such companies, find such individuals who have a track record and buy from them. That is basically on the health insurance. On the term insurance side, actually, it's very simple. Have an adequate cover. Ensure that you keep upgrading it as your lifestyle improves. That's how I'll sum it up.
And you have to buy a term plan and a not really savings linked insurance plan. Better to have a term plan first, and if you feel like it, then only savings linked plan. That is also very important.
Right.
You have a question?
Sure.
Hello. Yeah, I'm here. At the back.
I think there's someone
Yeah.
else.
So I have a question, like in terms of life insurance,
Sure.
it is very simple. If you have paid 3 years worth of premium, your claim cannot be rejected.
Even then it can get rejected. Section 45 we're talking about, but still...
Okay, fine. But I think there is a ruling by the Supreme Court that 3 years if you have taken premium, you have done your due diligence, there is no reason why you can reject it. In case of health insurance, there is never peace of mind. There is always a subclause, there are always fine prints written everywhere. So why it is so tedious and why there are some companies with perennially bad claim settlement ratios? Always in the low 80s, and there are some companies always in the high 90s. How come some companies attract all the, fraudsters, and some company, what's going on here?
Right. So there are three aspects of the question that you asked. The first part is you should be aware of, like what you mentioned about 3 years of continuous renewals in life insurance and then your claim not getting rejected. There is a similar clause that is there in health insurance where they say that if you have a renewal of 5 continuous years, then your claim cannot be rejected for very, very flimsy small reasons. It can only be rejected for something like what an insurer can probably give a written proof of fraud, right? So except for fraudulent claims, your claims cannot be rejected after 5 years of continuous renewals is the thing that you should be aware of. The second part of your question is basically where you've mentioned about why are there so much fine print in a policy and why is there no peace of mind? It is a very, very complex product. You need to understand health insurance first. Health insurance is basically is covering an underlying risk of healthcare, and healthcare in India today is not regulated. For insurers, they need to grapple with the change in pricing that happens on the hospital sides, and then their profits get changed or their basically pricing gets changed. They are also struggling, to be very honest. The other aspect is basically how the lifestyles and the families, the nuclear family composition is changing, because of which they are also seeing a completely dynamic claim ratio issue, like a claim experience issue. When these two things are put together, what happens is insurers themselves are also payers of healthcare bills, right? And they are hence required to dynamically change the product regularly from a pricing perspective and from a feature perspective, right? The last part of your question is basically where you said that some insurers have a bad track record, and you've seen that these insurers don't change. The only way to solve this problem is to port, right? Unfortunately, the regulation for grievance is not so great in India, and it needs a complete revamp where customers are heard much better than what they are today. We see it taking a lot of friction for you to be able to get heard once a problem becomes a big problem for the customer. Like you need to find the insurance company CEO's email address and write to them, and you need to do all these underlying activities to be able to get heard, which needs to get solved. For us as customers and people who are running communities like us for customers, the only solution is be quick in changing your insurer if you're finding that the insurer is not doing a good job and you're hearing bad things about that insurer. Be very quick in changing the insurer.